Welcome deck challenge with Papa Mage. Papa Mage had black and red for his welcome deck. He's going to show you what he made right now. Take it away, Papa. Welcome, young mage. I'm the Rhino. Young Mage is devoted to reaching and teaching young mages of all ages. Subscribe now to show your support. And don't forget to tap that bell down below to get notifications of all the cool stuff coming soon.
So this is Papa Mage here, and my combination is black and red, also known as Rakdos. You have to have that sound in it. Okay, in the welcome deck, black is mostly flying, and it has some menace in it. Red is haste and some direct damage, and it worked reasonably well together, but we wanted it to work together a lot better. So before we jump into everything, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you we got to fix the lands, and that is we're going to still going to go ahead and keep 26 lands, but we're going to take out some mountains and swamps equally so that we can put in 4 Cinder Barrens and 4 Evolving Wilds. That way you can get the colors of mana that you need a little bit faster, a little bit easier. Now, I'm going to quickly go through the cards that I removed. And I won't say much about them other than they just weren't really the best at what they did. Dune Beetle was nice, but it's just a blocker, really. Falcon Wrath Reaver is a 2/2 for 2, which is okay. Tattered Mummy, I kind of went back and forth on this a lot because of his special ability, where each opponent loses 2 life, but in the end, he just didn't seem to help out the deck that much. Alley Strangler, okay, Menace Creature. Frontline Rebel, I didn't like his downside where he had to attack each turn. The Hyena Pack is actually pretty decent, and there are some decks that you can use it in, but not this one. Terror at the Fairgrounds, I mean, he's only got a 2 defense, a shock can take him out. The Vampire is nice if you're wanting to sacrifice a bunch of creatures along the way. He gets big real quick, but we're not trying to sacrifice creatures. Thundering Giant, I mean, he's a little expensive for what he does. The Nightmare is great if you have all swamps in your deck. If you have nothing but swamps, keep it. Otherwise, it's not quite as good. I mean, most of the times when you play a deck like this, you end up with 4 or 5 swamps. It's just not that, doesn't have that value. The Renegade Tactics is kind of nice in a combat, but it's slow and it's sorcery. You do get to draw a card. Yeah, it's okay. And Flame Lash, 4 mana to do 4 damage. We can do better than that with 2 shock and certain death. It's okay, not that great. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to speed up how our deck comes out. We've got, so what I did is I put in a couple of 1-drops. Vampire Cutthroat, he's going to be one of our 2 1-drops. He's really nice because of the Skulk ability. They can only put up a blocker that's a 1/1 or has only a 1 power, and it has lifelink. This guy actually stays around a lot longer than most people care to want to stay around. But really our big 1-drop that we want to keep is a Village Messenger. If you play him on the first turn, you get him 1 damage. A lot of times your opponent doesn't have a spell that they can cast, so he flips immediately into this Moonrise Intruder with Menace and 2/2. And yeah, he might flip back, but still he's really nice. So for our 2-drops, we've got Gifted Aetherborn, Death Touch and Lifelink. Yeah, he's got the downside of 2 black mana to cast him, but he is he's very potent, and he actually keeps a lot of players from actually attacking. So, you know, that's great there. Sanguinary Mage. All right. At first glance, 2 mana to bring out a 1/3 doesn't sound that great, but this creature has prowess. And since we are doing a lot of direct spells, non-creature spells, this +1/+1 really helps out very, very quickly. Now, Brazen Scourge, I left that in. It's an okay creature, a 3/3 for 3 with haste, so it comes out, attacks immediately. That's pretty nice. But we needed something else that's brazen in there, and so we're going with Brazen Wolves. And the Brazen Wolves, whenever they attack, they get the +2/+0, which is, you'll find out, is going to be very, very important later on with some of the spells that we have. I ended up adding Cursed Minotaur, a couple extras in there, because he's just so nice with that menace. There's a lot of times that you can take out one of their bigger creatures if they double block, and of course there's some combat tricks later on that you can take out both creatures and possibly keep him on the board. The Bloodhunter Bat, I left that in mainly because it's a flying creature. We need a couple of flying creatures, and when he enters the battlefield, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So that's just a kind of a cool perk. It is a little bit expensive, but I think this guy works really well in this deck. I left the Gravedigger in there because, well, we need to be able to bring back a creature or 2 from time to time, and Gravedigger is one way of doing that. But I did put in, as a rare, an Archfiend of Ifnir. Now, we don't do a lot of cycling in this deck, but if you do have a little bit of cycling going on, then he puts that -1/-1 counter on there. But the thing is, for his price, he's a big flying creature, and that's really nice. I mean, that's a great blocker. A lot of times your opponent won't have anything to handle flying creatures, and you can just pound, 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 pound. I left in the Shivan Dragon. He's pretty nice at what he does, especially being able to pump him up. You know, at this point you have at least 2 red. So the next time you attack with him, you can give him +2/+0 and make him really big. But so that's it for the creatures. We've got 20 of them in there. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the spells. And I left in Raise the Dead because, hey, we still need to be able to bring a creature back from the graveyard to our hand. And I mean, it's a nice card. Left in the Shock, but we added Brute Strength. So Shock has the ability to do 2 damage just for 1. Brute Strength, yeah, it costs 2, but this is a combat trick. So you can take one of your creatures and give it a +3/+1 and give it trample until the end of turn. So it's really nice to make something get big real quick, because one of the things that I did is I added in extra Fling. Put in a few extra Fling, and not only do you attack with a creature that you gave Brute Strength to, but then afterwards you can throw it at your opponent and it does that damage again. So it's a really nice combo sort of thing, especially when you're towards the end of the game and your opponent only has 7 life left, and you can do 4 with an attack, and then you can fling another 4 at them, and they generally can't block that, and you can win the game. Now, if you really want to be annoying, what you do is you use Wrangle, which I left in there, and you take one of their creatures, you attack with it, and in a lot of cases they don't want to block that. They don't want to kill their own creature because they want it back. Well, you can take Wrangle, take control of their creature, put the Brute Strength on it, and then use Fling to fling it at them and sacrifice it. So they didn't block it, you made it bigger, and then you did extra damage with it. So that's just a really nifty way of just taking out one of their creatures and still doing damage. I went back and forth a lot with Essence Extraction. I still think this is best in this deck, not necessarily for this super budget build, but for when we have a little more budget, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But doing 3 damage to a target creature and then gaining 3 life, I mean, that's a good balance right there. You're taking out something that's doing damage to you and you're gaining some life from it. I left in Hungry Flames in this build. It does have a downside. People look at it and go, oh, hey, there's no downside. Well, if your opponent doesn't have any creatures out, you really can't cast this card because it does 3 damage to a target creature. It has to do that first. And if they don't have any creatures out, you have to damage one of your creatures just to do 2 damage to the player. But it's great in there. If creature out, you can take it out, still do a couple damage to them. And finally, Untamed Hunger. I left that in. It's a nice enchantment to give your creature +2/+1 and menace. You can think about do that beforehand, and you've got a big creature that has menace on it. They have to double block it. Then you can do the brute strength on it, and I mean it's just a cool combo. So now let's go over to deck where we have more of a budget. And what did I take out? Well, I took out a couple of lands because really we don't need that much land. But we're going to add in a couple Foreboding Ruins. They are a couple bucks a piece, but you're going to use them in later decks. And all you have to do is reveal a swamp or a mountain, and it doesn't come out tapped. And you've got both colors ready to go right there for you. We also took out a couple of land because really having 26 land in this deck is a bit much. We've got 24 is pretty reasonable for what we got. What did I take out? I took out the Brazen Scourge. He's just not that great. I took out the Archfiend and the Shivan Dragon, and you're going to go, whoa, you got rid of the flyers. And it's like, yeah, because we're changing the deck up a little bit. And we've got Hungry Flames in here. We've taken that out. Just because we don't want to destroy our own creatures, really, in this case. I had thought about putting in Unlicensed Disintegration and Liberating Combustion, but they just didn't do enough for me. We don't have enough artifacts to, in fact, we don't have any artifacts to make this worthwhile. And the Liberating Combustion, we actually did something a little different. So what did we do? Well, we took out our flyers and we put in 2 Chandra Pyrogenius. All right. This is actually what I feel to be one of the better of the Planeswalker deck. Planeswalkers. In this deck, she works really well. I mean, she does a lot of direct damage. She can take out target creatures. And with the deck that we've got a lot of stuff to remove any attackers that might come up. So she's not as bad as one would think. And actually, she works really well. So yeah, you have to get a second one if you already had a Planeswalker deck. But she's a lot better than putting in the Liberating Combustion. I mean, Liberating Combustion, yeah, it does the 6 damage. But we really want to have the Planeswalker out faster. I did add in an extra Gifted Aetherborn. And let's see, what else did I do? I left in the Essence Extraction because the big card that I added in was Insult to Injury. Now this is a really, really cheap rare, and I don't know why, because it is a great rare. We'll first take a look at the injury. When it's in your graveyard, it deals 2 damage to a target creature and then 2 damage to a target player. That's okay. That's basically, we've taken out Hungry Flames, and we've got injury in there. But Insult, okay, when you cast this, damage can't be prevented this turn. So nothing that they do after this resolves will allow them to prevent the damage. And if a source you control would deal damage this turn, it deals double that damage. Okay, so you've taken, if it's late in the game and you've taken control of one of their creatures and you've given it brute strength, it does double damage, and then you can fling it at them, and that does double damage. That's really cool. Your shocks do double damage. Essence Extraction, it does 6 damage to a target creature. You still only gain 3 life, but you've taken out a much, much bigger creature. Chandra, instead of doing 2 damage to each opponent, will do 4 damage to each opponent, or 8 damage to a target creature. And if you can -10 her and do 6 damage to a target player and each creature, that's 12 damage to a player and 12 damage to each creature. Nothing's going to survive. So insult to injury with Chandra in this deck, it just becomes a pretty amazing end game. So that's what I came up with for red and black. Tell me what you think of this in the comments below. Please make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. It helps out us a lot. And if you like this sort of content, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to see you come back again and again. So until later, Papa Mage out.
Make sure you click like on each of my videos. It helps out a lot. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And there are a few things here and here that may interest you. I have more videos coming out soon. And until then, Rhino out.